Okay, good morning, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the Tompkins Intergovernmental Relations Committee. It is Wednesday, November 5th, 2025 at around 11 a.m. And I'd like to thank everyone. We're towards the end of the year, and we've had so far 3 very successful meetings, and many of you have attended those meetings. And I just want to thank everyone for their engagement and their attendance and for really sharing their insight with us. We've recognized over the years that whenever times get tough, our community definitely comes together, and these meetings help us to communicate with each other and serve our community better. So I want to thank everyone for that. I would like to call the meeting to order. And are there any changes to our agenda? I do have a few changes because we're going to have some individuals come into our meeting and have to leave our meeting, and I know that some people have hard stops at certain times. So I'm going to juggle around some of our information and some of our attendees throughout the meeting. I also want to make note that we are going to have some guest appearances by State Senator Leah Webb. She's going to join us in person today, which is a special treat. We're also going to be joined by Congressman Josh Riley is going to join us as well. As everyone knows, we have a lot going on the local arena, the federal arena, and it'll be really awesome for us to get some updates. So I see that there's one person here in chambers. Irene, would you like to add a public comment today? Okay. Okay. I would also like to note that yesterday was election day, and we are going to have some new legislators that are joining us as of January. And the process here in Tompkins County went relatively well. I did hear that there were some issues at one of our election sites just with some paper ballots, but those were figured out pretty quickly in the morning. I do have minutes approval for August 6, 2025. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Deborah Dawson and seconded by Greg Muzzy. Are there any questions, comments, or changes for those minutes? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous, all 3 of us. We're a very small committee today. And then next is the chair's report. And since we have a very full agenda, I'm actually going to skip my chair's report, but I am going to pass it over to Deb Dawson, and she's going to provide a little bit of a snap update on the local level. And we also have some words of gratitude for our electeds that have stepped up to really communicate well for us and provide us with updates.
Yeah, I think today's focus may overall be pretty much on how our local and state governments are going to deal with the shredding of the social safety net that we're seeing coming from Washington, particularly the SNAP suspension and the HEAP program suspension. This is going to impact thousands of people here in Tompkins County. It impacts millions of people across the state. And for that reason, Senator Webb convened a phone call on Zoom on Monday morning, sort of a loose working group that included electeds and representatives of departments and not-for-profit organizations around the senator's district. So we had people from Cortland, Broome, and Tompkins County trying to figure out how we were going to coordinate a local response to the SNAP suspension, particularly. I don't even know where to start with that. I sent a really detailed email to my legislative colleagues, but basically the state has $101 million, I think, to distribute to food pantries and food banks around the state. I think about 30 million of that has gone on so far. Cortland County and Tompkins County are each in line to receive somewhere between $1 million and $1.5 million, maybe, of that money. But it's not going to be enough. That's the sad thing. And we have no idea how long this is going to last. You know, The administration has indicated that it may be putting out half of its monthly SNAP allotment in November in response to a federal court decision. We don't know when that's coming. And even if SNAP becomes, if the government goes back into operation and SNAP is funded again, we all know that the number of people who are going to qualify for SNAP because of the regulations in the big, beautiful bill will be fewer. So there are going to be more people who need local help. How can we help? I know that institutions like TC3 and IC and Cornell all have food pantries and food banks and programs. They're going to become more important than ever. And if you are moved as an individual to contribute, bear in mind that it makes a lot more sense for you to send cash than to buy food and contribute it, because you buy food at retail and food banks buy food at wholesale. I think that's probably enough for now.
Great, thank you. I also want to note Irene Weiser, who is here in our audience, who is a legislator-elect, has actually drafted up a resolution in regards to NYSEG, and not just some of the billing problems, but some of the HEAP issues that we're seeing, and some of the HEAP, the heating assistance that's offered by the state of New York, some of that being delayed as well, or not coming forward, which will certainly affect our constituents. And so we will have a resolution on Thursday's agenda that we'll vote on, that will be sent forward to our state officials, actually asking that the billing be postponed for those that are struggling with their SNAP benefits and with their HEAP assistance.
Maybe Alex can give us a more robust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
So I want to move on to our county administrator's report, and joining us is Norma Jane with County Administration.
Thank you. So just real quick report on, we're working with the Food Bank of the Southern Tier presently to distribute the funds that have been allocated from the county for emergency funds. Just kind of working through the logistics of the contract and how those will be distributed. That's really other than what you've already talked about, that's really the only report we have.
Is this the 50,000?
That's the 50,000, yes,
Okay.
thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions or comments from committee members? Thank you, Norma.
You're welcome.
Next, we're going to move to TC3, which is our local community college. And we have about 15 minutes for TC3. And we are joined by Carrie Coates-Whitmore, who is the Director of Continuing Education and Workforce Development. And I also see that Rob Pilmary is joining us from TC3 as well. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. We're glad to be here on behalf of our president. So she asked us today to give you a quick up on the partnership that we have with Tompkins County Upstate Medical and Cuba Medical Center to offer EMT programming in the area. So we kicked off this fall hosting the EMT program here up at the college. They've got a nice setup in the back of the building. I think they have one classroom for the main portion, and then we have 4 or 5 classrooms for breakout rooms. So they're able to host a full class. So we have 25 individuals enrolled in the program this fall. And we have more than 25 interested in the upcoming spring program, which will be held at the Cuba Medical Center mall location training site. So the cadence that the partners have set up is that the fall semester, it'll host at TC3. The spring semester, it'll host at the Ithaca Mall location. And then we are working on possibly, and this is staff dependent, hosting an advanced EMT class in summer at TC3, as well as another EMT class over the summer. But then again, that is staff dependent on that. We also tried our first round of a professional development day for emergency services personnel, which we hosted on campus September 19th. We had over 30 individuals signed up. Unfortunately, it was a Friday, so not about half actually attended. But we are working on another professional development day in the spring, which we're planning for March 28th, which is a Saturday. And then we're going to move that to an annual event. We just held a small one in fall to get us kicked off and started. But Upstate Medical is, they provide the instruction with, members of Tompkins County EMS, and then Med is a fantastic partner as well, allowing us to use their site in the spring. So I don't know if anybody has any questions for us regarding the project.
Deborah Dawson?
Yeah, so I'm curious, are these programs for the EMTs, it's just one semester long? Or is it a?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So it's almost a full semester. It's about 15 weeks, and they do meet twice a week in the evenings. So it is a full semester commitment for folks. The idea, what's nice about the two different locations, we're able to, serve both Tompkins and Cortland counties, pull from those areas at the TC3 location, and then, the other half of Tompkins County with the mall location, and it's on the bus route.
And then they get like a mini certificate?
I'm sorry?
Did they get like a mini certificate or some certification?
Yeah, so Upstate, yes, they do receive EMT certification. And the partnership with Upstate Medical, they are the approved provider through New York State. So our partnership is location and helping with recruitment. And then Upstate comes in because they are the approved program through the state, which is able to then offer that certification to folks who complete.
That's great, thank you.
I think this is really incredible because we've heard constantly about the need for trained EMTs, and that continues to be an issue with our local for-profit ambulance provider, as well as I know that here in the county, we're probably going to be expanding our rapid medical program. And so that will be something that we will be looking for as well. So this has been a need in our community, and I'm very, very happy that TC3 is meeting that need. Any other questions for Carrie or Rob about their programs? Okay, thank you both for joining us today. We do appreciate it. It's good to see you.
Great, good to see you as well. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Next, I'm going to move around a bit. We've had a change with one of our attendees that's going to be a little bit later. So I'm going to ask if Alex from NYSEC might be able to provide us with an update. NYSEC is the New York State Association of Counties, and they provide our conferences that many of the legislators go to a few times a year, and really provide guidance for all of us as far as lobbying, and really provide us with great direction and insight. So welcome, Alex.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation to be here. I have a longer federal update. Of course, there's a lot unknown, so I will include a lot of caveats throughout. And then at the end, I have a quick state update. But I'm looking forward to hearing what the Congress member and senator may also have to share. Obviously, this has been a really significant federal government shutdown. It is now the longest in U.S. history. The shutdown is now in its 36th day, and that surpasses the record of 35 days, which was set during the first Trump administration. The shutdown began on October 1st, when Congress failed to pass appropriations for fiscal year 2026. And really, the dispute here centers on the enhanced tax credits for insurance premiums under the ACA, or the Affordable Care Act, which are set to expire by the end of this year. The Senate has voted now 14 times on a House-passed stopgap measure, but Republicans couldn't garner the 60 votes needed to advance the bill without any Democratic support. So as of right now, there's really no end in sight to this shutdown, though others may have more insight. There really is a significant broad federal impact, so I'll start about what this means for the federal government, and then I'll get into what it means for New York State and counties. On the federal side, there's approximately 900,000 federal employees that are furloughed, and there's another 2 million who are working without pay. The Transportation Secretary warned on Tuesday that they might need to close certain parts of the airspace if the shutdown continues because of the shortage of air traffic controllers. This is especially a concern as we get closer to the holiday season and holiday travel. And then the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, is estimating that the shutdown could cause a 1 percentage point GDP drop if it lasts for 4 weeks. And that could rise to a 2% drop if it lasts 8 weeks or longer. As we've already heard, one essential program that's been impacted by the shutdown is SNAP, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. I'll start with the legal battle and then talk about what that means for New York State. So on October 31st, there were 2 federal judges in separate cases that ruled that the Trump administration's plan to suspend SNAP benefits was unlawful. There was a U.S. district judge in Rhode Island that ordered USDA, which is the federal agency responsible for administering SNAP. They ordered USDA to distribute SNAP contingency funds as soon as possible for November payments. At the same time, a Massachusetts federal judge also ruled that USDA must use these contingency funds, and that ruling followed a lawsuit by 22 AGs and 3 governors. Then on Monday, we got the Trump administration's response. So the Trump administration has agreed to send approximately $4.6 billion from the SNAP contingency fund, which is about enough to cover 50% benefits for eligible households for the month of November. There's about $4.6 billion in this contingency fund, and covering full benefits for November would require significantly more. The estimate is about $9 billion nationwide. The administration decided against pulling those additional funds from other sources to provide full benefits. We saw they actually funded the WIC program, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But for SNAP, they've declined to provide those full benefits. So now the question is, what does that mean? When will we actually see that money? According to USDA, we should expect payment delays. They're saying it could take anywhere from weeks to several months for some states to update their systems and distribute these 50% benefits. The partial payments require states to reprogram their systems, and there's some states that just have decades-old systems, and so it will take a minute to make this work. In New York, it's going to be solely up to the state to decide how to figure out, I should say, how to provide these reduced benefits for November. There's not a county rule here. However, I do have some good news, and this could be overly optimistic, or New York could just be an outlier, but whereas other states are talking about this taking several weeks or even months, we're expecting New York State to be able to calculate the reduced benefit amount in just a couple of days. At least that's what we're hearing from our DSSs right now. So there is a good chance that the money could flow sooner to New York State and then to the SNAP recipients, of course, in the state faster than we're seeing in other parts of the country. The funds need to be released by the U.S. Treasury to the EBT vendors, and Treasury is waiting until the benefits are recalculated by the states to know how much funding to send to each state. So we'll keep you posted as we learn more about that, but we're optimistic right now that New York can move pretty quickly and get this money from Treasury, and then counties can get it out to the SNAP recipients. As we all know, the delay has had a really significant impact on the full state. There are about 3 million New Yorkers who rely on SNAP benefits, and counties, as we know, as well as New York City, administer $650 million each month to SNAP recipients. So this is a really significant safety net, I should say, for our residents. We've also heard that there's more pressure on food pantries and food banks right now. They're reporting significant increased demand, especially over the last 2 weeks, as people anticipated their benefits being disrupted and they tried to stock up on different perishable items. Hochul, as also has been noted, announced in increments over the past week or so that New York State is going to send approximately $100 million to food banks and pantries. We are waiting for more information about where exactly that money is going and what it will look like. But the intent is for that to fill the gap right now while we're waiting to distribute the partial benefits. Counties have been instructed to process applications and renewal for SNAP as usual. The goal is to ensure that people receive their benefits in full once the federal government does reopen. So for now, that's the guidance we're getting from OTDA, is continue operating as if it were normal as far as applications and renewals. There is an additional complicating factor here that I want to mention, and that is the new work requirements. So as of November, the new federal SNAP work requirements went into effect, and these require able-bodied adults without dependents to work, attend school, or volunteer for 80 hours per month at least to maintain their benefits beyond 3 months. This announcement really came as a surprise to us in New York State. We expected that we'd have until at least the end of the year to implement these requirements, but the rule took effect on November 1st, so as of a few days ago. The first month that actually counts towards the 3-month limit starts in December. So what this means effectively is that the benefits cannot be canceled due to this 3-month time limit for people who are not working or volunteering before March 1st of 2026. So we have some time there, but this requirement has started and your DSSs are working on trying to implement it. We've heard from several counties that they don't have the staff to do this. Some are anticipating needing to double their workforce to handle all of the extra processing requirements. And of course, this is a county cost. So in NISAC's legislative program for 2026, we'll be advocating for the state to step in and help with your funding needs, with technology upgrades, and other requirements related to the SNAP and Medicaid administrative changes. Another program that was brought up earlier is HEAP, the Home Energy Assistance Program. The federal shutdown has also delayed the November opening of the 2025-2026 HEAP season, and it's now been postponed until November 17th. Households are encouraged to continue applying, and the intent is for payments to be issued as soon as the federal government reopens and funding is allocated. So similar to SNAP, counties should continue as usual with HEAP and just wait for that money to come. The WIC program is unique in that it actually got funded. So USDA transferred $300 million initially, and then another $450 million last Friday for payments for the WIC program, which is women, infants, and children. That will temporarily cover payments during the shutdown. The WIC program serves about 7 million people monthly, including 41% of all infants in the country. So a really important program, and it's important that they kept funding that during the shutdown. I try to think of what some key takeaways would be for the time being. It's really difficult being in this time of limbo. We wish we had more answers for you, but this is the advice we've been sharing with counties. So I'll run through my 5 recommendations, and then I'll end with a quick state update. So the first point is that uncertainty remains, right? Even with this court order, the timeline for the partial payments is unclear. Full benefits are not guaranteed in the immediate future, and so you should plan accordingly, expect there to be more uncertainty, and don't take anything for granted until it has actually happened. The second point is there's a need for administrative continuity. So counties should continue processing applications and renewals as normal, even though we all know that the funding is not there. There's also a need to provide community resources. Our food banks and pantries are experiencing really significant demand right now, and they may need additional support beyond what New York State has already provided. We've heard from some counties that they are supplementing the funding available for food banks and pantries. That, of course, is up to every local government to decide, but we're definitely hearing that the need is there. The fourth point I want to make is that this is a really important advocacy opportunity. Now is really the time for county leaders, if you haven't already, to communicate to your federal representatives that there are real world impacts on your residents from the shutdown and from other policy decisions they've made. So to the extent that you can communicate those to Congress, I think it'll be really important to ultimately ending the shutdown. And then the last point is, please take advantage of the state resources that are available and the ones that NISAC has put out. The governor launched a website, it's ny.gov/federal cuts, where New Yorkers can share stories and access resources. We've also got an OTDA website. They are maintaining information about the status of SNAP at otda.ny.gov/shutdown. And then NYSAC has our own federal resource page where we're compiling this along with the governor's executive order and other announcements. Those are available on the homepage of our website, nysac.org. You can go there and you can find it directly from the homepage. Now I'll get into a quick state update, and I'm happy to take any questions at the end. One thing I did want to mention, and this happened last month, but it's significant enough to mention, especially today after the election. But several weeks ago now, the New York State Court of Appeals ruled that the state law requiring most elections to be held in even number years is in fact constitutional and would take effect immediately. So that meant that it applied to yesterday's election. What does this mean for counties? So first, current terms are not affected. If your current term runs through an odd year, you'll serve that full term. However, your next term will be shortened by 1 year to align elections with even years. So a term that would have been up in 2031 will now appear on the ballot in 2030. The law applies to most county and town offices, but it does not apply to constitutional officers. So those are your district attorneys, county clerks, sheriffs, town justices, local judges, and all city officials. And then on the legislative side, we are approaching very quickly the end of the year, which means the governor only has 2 months to sign all of the outstanding bills that passed both houses, meaning the state Senate and the state Assembly. I've got a few stats for you on where things stand. There were 856 bills that passed both houses during the 2025 legislative session. 532 of those have been sent to the governor for her to sign or veto. So far, 517 of those bills have in fact been signed or vetoed. There are currently 15 bills on the governor's desk awaiting her action. And then there are 323 bills that have not yet been delivered. Typically, the more controversial or complicated bills get saved until the end, so the governor can get more input on them before they're ultimately signed or vetoed. So we're really waiting for the tricky bills that have gotten more attention to be delivered to the governor. NYSAC is continuing to update what we call our PBH report, or past both houses. This is our 2025 legislative session summary that includes all of the bills that have some sort of impact on county governments or are of concern to county government. And you can also find that on the homepage of our website. So with that, I will stop and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Alex. Deborah Dawson.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. That was very comprehensive. You're a fast talker, so I didn't get those website addresses. If you could just put those in an email and send them on to us, that would be great. So we could share.
Absolutely,
them.
happy to.
Thank you.
Alex, can you talk a little bit about what some of the other counties are doing to be creative around the SNAP work requirements? Are other counties actually listing jobs and hiring people to meet these qualifications?
It's a good question. So we've heard from counties that the need is certainly there to hire employees, but most counties were not anticipating needing to do this so soon. It's not something you budgeted for in last year's budget. So as far as I know, right now, most counties are still developing a plan. I'm not sure who has actually hired new staff yet, but we can inquire about that and I'll try to get an update.
That would be great. Are there also any other creative ideas that counties are coming forward with in order to address the food insecurity that we're seeing with our constituents?
We've seen counties allocate some funds to their food banks and food pantries. I know Erie County, where I'm based, has done this, and several other counties have as well. Counties are also sharing resources for residents. They're linking to the state website, to county resources, and other information that residents may want to access, particularly related to the location of food banks and food pantries. Aside from that, I think we're still in this limbo state where nobody wants to commit too much funding to this, especially in a volatile time. The federal government has been clear that they will not reimburse states or local governments for any funds that they spend. This is not traditional, right? Typically, if the state fronts the money, they would be reimbursed by the federal government for a federal program. But in this case, I think there's some trepidation to commit, tens of millions or even billions of dollars, which is really what the need is here, if the federal government shutdown could end at any moment. So counties are definitely stepping up, doing what they can, but at the same time, we're not taking too many concrete actions in anticipation of some sort of change, hopefully in the near future.
Thank you. And just to clarify, the county has put forward $50,000 that will be going to our food banks to support people in our community. However, it's just a small fraction of what's really needed to supplement the SNAP benefits that people aren't getting.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments for Alex?
Can we
Deborah?
clarify one thing? The work requirements for SNAP and Medicaid can be satisfied with volunteer work, is that correct?
Yes, it is volunteer work or actual work or school. So you need to have at least 80 hours per month or one of those or some combination of those to maintain your benefits beyond this 3-month cutoff.
Because I'm thinking, we're not in a place where we can really force people to hire someone, but could we put together some kind of clearinghouse for volunteer opportunities, which we always seem to need in this community? If there's someone we can work with to at least get that word out, and people can volunteer much more easily sometimes than they can find a job.
Specifically, like at the food banks or a church or a nonprofit that might need some extra hands. And I'm assuming it's just going to be a form that the organization would need to fill out for the recipient. Is that?
Yeah, I know there is some sort of documentation required. I'm not sure exactly what that is. So I can check in with the association that represents our DSSs and try to get more information about what exactly you need to attest to maintain the benefits.
That would be really helpful, because if it's not a very onerous requirement, it'll be a lot easier to get the local organizations to participate.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you, Alex, for joining us. We appreciate your time, and your updates are always so helpful.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Next, we are going to move on to Paula Younger, who is joining us from Ithaca College. Welcome, Paula. It's great to see you.
Thank you, and I appreciate the invitation. I put together just a brief summary of just some updates from the school, but I welcome any questions that you have, and it'll just help me determine for future meetings things that you would like to hear about. I'll first start because of the theme of the meeting has been the federal shutdown, and in particular concerns around the discontinuation of SNAP benefits. And I would say that we share similar concerns here on our campus on behalf of our students and our staff. Of course, we don't know what students or what staff members actually receive these benefits, but we are looking at the fact, for example, that approximately 20% of our students are Pell eligible, so that gives some indication of students that might be in need. We also do have a food pantry here on campus, so we're also keeping a close eye on that activity, and we have seen recently a slight uptick, and we are anticipating that we will see more. We also have made some adjustments to our meal plan options. I won't go into all the particulars, but the goal is to ensure that both staff as well as students get at least one full meal a day while here on campus, and that's something that the campuses, that the college is providing free to them. I'll move on just for some general updates about the college. Everything that we're doing these days is focusing on the president's institutional priorities for the academic year 25-26. There are 4 priorities. One is financial sustainability, obvious in these times. Student success, integration, which really involves more development of cross-sector community partnerships, And then, of course, cultivating what we call an Ithaca Forever community, and that is just increasing our efforts in the area of advancement and donor relations. With regards to financial sustainability, I would say that the big item there is how we get to what we feel is a sustainable size for our college. That size is looking to be roughly around, a campus community of about 4,500. Currently, we are at 46, which would include roughly 4,200 undergrads and about 450 plus grad students. Our fall enrollment for this 2025 fall semester was 1,187, so 1,187 students, which actually was roughly about 37% over our target. One of the things that we're really excited about as we look towards the next academic year is that already for our fall 2026 enrollment, we are about 42% ahead of where we were last year in terms of applications. And that's about triple that percentage for students that are looking to transfer here. So only time, will tell, but it's keeping us steady in where we want to be in terms of our size. I would say that our balance sheet is strong, our cash on hand and investments are fine. We do have a concern about our operating margin. And I would say, so like a lot of schools, we're looking to wherever we need to reduce costs, tracking in efficiencies, obviously improving student retention and adjusting some of our recruitment and pricing strategies. And we're also looking for more of those mutually beneficial collaborations. One that is in the making is, looking to expand our partnership with TC3. We are looking to see for some of those students that are in their health sciences area, we can look down the road to then offer them a 4-year degree here in our health science and human performance school. We're also looking in areas of biology as well as psychology. So that's just an example of how we're looking to expand there and build better partnerships in those areas. The only other big thing that's coming up for us, well, not coming up, we're in the middle of, is our Middle States reaccreditation. So we've just come to the end of our self-study, and we're getting to that point where Middle States will be on site in a few weeks, so that will keep us busy. Finally, in terms of community efforts, we did have a dedication of a new outdoor track last weekend during our homecoming. We are encouraging our broader community members to please take advantage of our new track. I'll just warn you that the geese have not left us, so just be careful on where you're trekking on that track on certain days.
The geese will always be with us.
Finally, one of the things that we are working on for fall of 2026 is that IC would like to host the Congress to Campus program. And that is a program that is offered by the nonprofit bipartisan alliance, the former members of Congress. They would actually provide 2 former members, one from both sides of the aisle. We pick a program and theme and then design a number of activities that would take place over a 1.5-day period. So we have a planning team that's in place. We'll be working throughout the academic year to then bring this to fruition, like I said, in fall of 2026. We are looking to put together a number of different panels and things of that nature that maybe our own local elected officials might take part in. Also looking to engage our local high schools that maybe our high school students might want to come and take part in some of our activities. Like I said, we're in the early planning stages of that, but we have gotten approval from our president and senior leadership to move forward. So we're happy about that. And later on down the road, I'll be able to offer you a little more detail. So that's my update, but please, by all means, if there's something else I can share or look into and follow up on, please let me know.
Thank you, Paula. I think there are a few questions for you. Greg Mezzi?
Yeah, Paula, good to see you again as always. Thanks for making time this morning. It was less of a question, more of a comment. Was recently in a meeting with Tim Downs, and we were just sort of talking about the general landscape throughout the community. And I shared with him, and I want to share with you as well, that it's been noticeable Ithaca College's commitment to community and really stepping up and trying to have a greater leadership role in many things. As one of many academic institutions in the community, finding, place and purpose and identity, is something that needs to continually be worked on. But it's really noticeable the efforts that Ithaca College is going through to establish that place and continue to strengthen their position within our community. So I want to just thank you and your team and everybody at Ithaca College for their leadership on things like supporting the airport, for getting involved in economic development activities and serving on various local boards, et cetera. I know that Ithaca College has had its share of struggles at times, but it seems like bright days are ahead, and kudos and well done to all of you, because it's noticeable and appreciated for the role you're playing in the community at the present moment.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate very much, and I'll make sure that President Cornish knows about those comments, because we have been working hard, so we appreciate that.
Thanks. That's the same thing Tim said. So you guys are on the same page.
Paula, I also want to add the fact that there has been great collaboration, and the thing that I've been really impressed about is the fact that you all are not one of the 3 partners for TCAT. However, Ithaca College has really come forward and offered to contribute funding to TCAT, which is very, very impressive. And my understanding is that TCAT is serving your students well, and I want to thank you for that, because any contribution to TCAT keeps us all stronger. The other thing I want to say is that I have been extremely impressed. Your journalism students and your radio and TV students have been absolutely stellar this year, and I think many of us have been asked to do interviews and help them with their news articles, and this group of students has been so engaged to the fact of knowing local politics and being part of our community. It's been very, very impressive.
Yeah, your local voter guide was actually the best one in the county. So, and
All right, I'll let them know that.
I actually had an interview with one of your students, and I complimented her on that. So, yeah, please be aware that they've just done an outstanding job.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. They have won a number of awards, and so I appreciate that. I'll make sure too that Dean Faulkner, the Dean of the Park School, is also aware of that. Although the Ithacan, the newspaper, is separate, and it's a standalone student-run item, but I will let her know.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Let's see here. Next, I think it would make sense. The senator is going to probably join us in the next few minutes, but we can certainly get started with Cornell. We might have to interrupt Cornell once the senator steps in, or the congressman, because I know that they're in and out of meetings, and their time is going to be pretty limited. But we can start with a Cornell update, if that's all right, with Kyle and Jennifer Tavares that are joining us from Cornell University.
Great. Thanks, Shauna. I'll just really briefly jump in and mention that we have several partners from across campus that are coordinating with county and other local governments and agencies around the SNAP benefit concerns. We have folks that are focused on faculty and staff needs, student needs. We also, just so everyone's aware, have had some folks on the academic side and sort of more on the operations side that are willing to support more broadly community response and have made some offers along those lines. We're happy to help coordinate that. And there's also receptiveness to helping coordinate volunteers. As we were in the meeting last week and they were talking about needs, large quantities of volunteers and also support with transportation were both discussed. And so we certainly may have capabilities to support with some of those needs. So I just wanted everyone here to have those updates as well. And then was going to introduce our new Vice President, Kyle Kimball. But I also see that the Senator has joined. So if you want us to pause and circle back later, we can certainly do that. Thanks, Shauna.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Jennifer?
Not at this time.
Okay, great. And we would like to welcome Senator Leah Webb. I know she just jumped on, and I don't want to make her uncomfortable and make sure she gets situated.
Hey, Shauna. No, I can. I've been having some tech issues with my computer, so I'm on my phone because my computer decided to just update itself and take a very long time. Anyway.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate seeing you on our screen, and word has it that this afternoon you're going to be in the chambers. Welcome to our Tompkins Intergovernmental Relations Committee, and I'm sure you probably have a few updates for us.
Yes, well, thank you, Shauna and everyone for the invitation. So I guess I should start with kind of some of the immediate things that have been happening, most certainly with SNAP. So the meeting you alluded to that's going to be the press conference rather is going to be happening in the chamber this afternoon is lifting up. There's a lot of coordinated efforts that are happening with various stakeholders in Tompkins County around addressing the SNAP benefits pause. I know I saw that Tompkins County, you all, which, again, I think it's great, has given $50,000 to help with food efforts. So last week, the governor did a statewide declaration of emergency related to SNAP and also allocated $101 million for our food pantries, our food banks, to help community members with getting access to food. And so right now, in light of the federal court decision with respect to having the federal administration unfreezing the funds, which again, these funds are supposed to be available per the law. As of right now, I know the federal administration has said that they will release the funds. It'll be about 50% of those funds will be released. And we're getting some data because the state, through OTDA, the Office of Temporary Disability Assistance, which is the administrator of the SNAP program, they're waiting for more directives from the federal administration on this. What we know so far is that there's some concerns about the amount that people will be receiving. So it's half of what they usually may receive. I learned this morning in some cases there are individuals who are receiving very nominal amounts, like as low as like $11 with regards to their SNAP benefits. There's also a time gap. So some folks probably won't see anything until the November 12th, I believe. So we're just trying to get some more clarity. I know OTDA was trying to see if they could just directly give the funds through them while they're waiting for the federal government to unfreeze the funds. So there's a lot of moving pieces there. At this point, I don't know if the governor is planning to add additional funding for SNAP, because one of the other issues that's of also major concern, and that is the HEAP program, which, as we know, the weather is getting colder. And so federal HEAP and LIHEAP, that's low income home energy assistance program funds, those are no longer available. We did allocate funding through the state budget, and so AARP and PULP, which is the Public Utility Law Project, sent a letter asking for the governor to make more funds available, and if that is not an option, that there needs to be a moratorium with respect to utility shutoffs in light of what's happening with SNAP. I joined in on that. I know one of my colleagues, Senator Mayer, also has been, she also has a letter asking for more supports for HEAP. What other items? So at this point, I know we may have spoken before. We were trying to, we were anticipating a potential special session. At this point, I haven't heard any word if we're going to have a special session. However, a number of the issues that we're currently working on, whether it's from SNAP and HEAP, I know this is something that is going to be a major discussion. These are going to be major discussions in the upcoming legislative session, along with housing. So last week, I had a meeting with the commissioner of HCR and Lenny Skrill, who you all know is our regional representative for HCR. And one of the, I was trying to go to my notes. One of the topics of that conversation, I was trying to get a sense of where, like, the status of some of the housing projects that HCR is supporting in Tompkins County. And then, of course, existing housing initiatives. So I will start with one that I know folks have definitely been working on, and that's our Siri House. So myself and Assemblymember Kellis continued to share with HCR the concerns we've been hearing from many of you and other folks with regards to overtime costs, calls, response calls that are requiring like first responders to go there, wraparound services, supports. So what HCR explained to us is that they are in at least monthly meetings with the Vecino group in trying to get them to address a number of issues that have been outlined, including the security issues and just overall management. Assemblymember Kellis and I will be meeting back with HCR, I believe either by the end of this month or early December, because one of the concerns that was raised is that, well, consideration that was raised is that with the overall management and HCR pushing for some more accountability measures in a more timely manner because of the urgency of the needs and challenges. So that is something that is actively being worked on. I'm just trying to go through my other notes here. I had a meeting with, and I know I invited folks to attend with the DEC in relation to the DEC permit approval with the Cargill salt mine. And my intention with that meeting with a lot of the municipal leaders in Tompkins County was for the DEC to kind of just explain the process, where things are, how they're monitoring everything. And so I will make those notes available. They actually had a PowerPoint that they provided to my office and others who were in that meeting. So I'll make sure that I share that with you. That gives an overview of some of the things that DEC is monitoring with regards to the salt mine. In terms of status of local bills, I know the governor is still calling up bills at this point, so I'm still just waiting to see which bills she's calling up next. She's called up a few bills of mine. She hasn't called up the IDA request bill yet. I'm just trying to double check my notes here. But most certainly there are other, I was trying to specifically lift up ones that were related to, that I received from Tompkins County. One is it's a S7834A, authorizing the town of Ithaca to discontinue as parklands and alienate certain lands. The governor has signed that. The governor has also signed the, and this is S7804, authorizing Tompkins County to impose an additional 1% of sales and compensating use taxes. The governor has signed that as well. Another couple of bills related specifically to Tompkins County, S7847, and that is authorizing the village of Trumansburg to offer, it's related to the retirement of a former employed police officer. That's waiting to be called up by the governor. Another similar bill, S7848, another retirement authorization. This is related to a deputy sheriff in Tompkins County, also awaiting the governor to call that up. Another bill, S7849, which is authorizing another retirement offer for another deputy sheriff in Tompkins County. The first one was Brian Jolly, and this one is for Kyle Davenport.
Okay.
That's also awaiting signature by call up by the governor, and hopefully she will sign these. The next one is S7911. And this is authorizing the village of Trumansburg. Again, this is another retirement bill that's also awaiting a call up by the governor. I have another one, S8219, also in Trumansburg. That's another retirement bill, also awaiting the governor's calling it up. And I'm just trying to look back. The other one, as I mentioned with regards to the IDA, is still waiting on that.
Great.
And then I guess the next thing I will add, I know you all usually provide me with what your legislative agenda is for the upcoming session. I will say that with a lot of the federal cuts and most certainly federal government being shut down, we are continuously trying to figure out where we're going to be able to fill some gaps, what are some other strategies we can employ. So that's definitely a continued work in progress. And so again, I want to thank you all for your continued leadership and partnership, especially given a lot of uncertainty that most certainly is happening. And I will stop there.
Great, thank you so much, Senator Webb. And are there any questions from the committee? Mike Sigler?
I mean, this is probably Greg's question. If I'm stealing it from you, I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask you about Dryden Lake I'm sorry, Greg. Not even your district. I wanted to ask you about Dryden Lake and the struggle kind of with DC. I just wanted to make sure your office was adequately briefed on the situation there.
You said on Dryden Lake?
Yes.
No, can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Sure. There's Dryden Lake is a man-made lake in Dryden. It's really one of the only water features in Dryden, New York. And the dam is pretty old. It's a wood dam, wooden earthen dam. And it's lived past its, I guess, viability. I mean, it's still holding back the water, but you know how long that will last. And the DEC is saying they could rebuild it for $3 million, but it's my understanding they may not prefer to do that. Is that correct, Greg? And I'll let Greg take it from here, actually.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, Dryden Lake's over 200 years old. It was originally built as a economic development for logging and other purposes, and has since become a recreation. I believe it was in '97. And then recently again in early 2000s or late 2000s, that the DEC and the town of Dryden formed an agreement for who owns and who's responsible for various parts of the lake. And it's, I think Mike's right, it's about $3.2 million to replace the dam. And there's current conversation of, does the DEC have the funds for that? Would they try to terminate the agreement that they have and sort of put it back to the town to take care of? So I know that Assemblymember Kellis is aware of this and just wanted to elevate this to you, Senator Webb, because it is a enjoyed natural area, well-visited recreation. You know, it's just in Dryden, we refer to it as one of our sort of crown jewels because it's really a key part of our community, and we would hate to see that something that the DEC has accepted responsibility for and formulated an agreement on for that to come back and be put back on the town to try to manage that $3.2 million improvement that's sorely needed at this point.
No, this is helpful. I know there's a couple of folks, other local leaders that are lifting this up. I will look into this. I have, I'm supposed to be meeting with DEC again, just with regards to, which I forgot to mention, stormwater, wastewater management supports, especially given the work that's happening in Tompkins County and some of the upgrades that are happening and are needed, and most certainly funding supports that are needed in that regard. So I will lift this up with them as well. Just out of curiosity, Greg, can you share, if you know, when was the last correspondence that you all may have had with the DEC about the project?
So I have, and I'll share this with you in your office, but there's in the September newsletter from the town, there's actually a really good write-up on everything that's sort of happened to date. I want to say it was late September, maybe the last conversation around this. And I just want to correct one of the facts that I was giving. In 2017, the town and the DEC entered a 25-year agreement. So there's still a lot of runway left on that agreement. But I will share that with you so that you have that in your inbox.
No, that's helpful. And then especially if there's funding options that we can most certainly look at in terms of helping with the project. I definitely would like to see what else could be done. But yeah, send me whatever relevant information that would be helpful in that regard. And most certainly, when I meet with them again, I will definitely, and I don't necessarily have to wait until that meeting. I can most certainly share it and just kind of further emphasize it when I do meet with them. Like I said, I'm supposed to meet with them either this month or early next month as a follow-up.
Great. I know we would appreciate that. And Sean, if I may, I do have one other thing, and sorry that this is a little bit Dryden-centric at the moment, but it is the community I represent. One of the things I know Assemblymember Kellis and Senator May are working on this, but I also wanted to flag this for you, is currently cable companies like Spectrum can install service to renters without having to get easements or other permission from the landlord to enter the premise and install the cable in or on the property. Dryden Fiber, which is our municipal fiber service that we have in Dryden, has to currently track down property owners to get easements for each rental property, whether it has multiple residents or single family home. This slows down our rollout and puts Dryden Fiber on an unequal playing field to companies like Spectrum. And so I think we're just asking for legislation and support to level the playing field with companies like Spectrum as it relates to municipal-owned utility like broadband.
Yes, I thank you for lifting this up, Greg. I know I've had a bill, at least for the last few years, in trying to expand broadband access, especially in communities like ours that we know all too well where the respective no internet access zones are and what challenges that creates. I will definitely follow up on this piece because some of the language in that bill of mine touches on some of these things. I'll have to check specifically with respect to easements and access. I can circle with you on that. So just so I'm clear, the issue is for Spectrum. They're able to install service without these easement agreements, and you're essentially looking for Dryden Fiber to be able to have that same type of access. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. And it's nothing wrong with being Dryden-centric. You're doing your job.
Thanks. Well, and good news about Dryden Fiber, we just had a $9 million expansion into the town of Caroline to bring much needed service out there. So I know that was well received and a great intermunicipal partnership between Dryden and Caroline with, I believe some state funds that were behind that.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm definitely aware of the state funds that were available. I'm very happy that has happened. And, again, always looking for ways to build on these supports. So absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Great. Mike Sigler?
Well, just since we're on water and the DEC and to bring it off of Dryden, I ask the city pretty much every quarter where we are with dredging the inlet of Ithaca, and they never have a great answer. I would love for them to have a great answer like we're starting. The hang-up seems to be between the DEC and the federal government of what depth they're going to go to, and it's a funding issue. So if I don't know how well briefed you are on that either, but that would be a great help for the city of Ithaca to actually, after 40 years, they've already cleared the space for to dewater the silt that they're going to bring out. I think the city's done its work. I think it really is up to the DEC and the federal government to kind of have a meeting of the minds of let's start this project already.
Okay, I'll have to look into that specifically with the DEC to see where things stand with that. I know that Dirth, who's our regional rep for, Dirth, who's our regional rep for DEC, she's the person I work with quite a bit. So I will lift this up to see kind of where the status is or just kind of what's happening on this issue.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Greg Mezzi?
Yeah, Mike, thanks for bringing this up. And Senator, if I may, just for some additional context, this has a huge implication on floodplain and flood risk in the flats of Ithaca, and is, cause for major concern because I think I and many share the sentiment that we are one catastrophic rainwater flood event away from serious, serious damage to New York State. And my understanding of somebody who spends a lot of time on the lake and is pretty well connected into that community, that there's a lot of sort of interagency bureaucracy that seems to be getting in the way of any sort of progress. And this is a 15, 20 plus year issue. And it would be great if sometime we could actually stop talking about it. Because like I said, I really believe, and as you've seen and probably heard from your constituents, with increased flood insurance costs and the flood maps changing, et cetera, water and potential water damage because of not having adequate capacity within ways that we have to move water away from homes and businesses. This really puts us in a predicament that that could have much more costly effects in the long run and be pretty catastrophic to the city of Ithaca.
Yeah, I know. We're constantly, and I hear this from other areas as well, concerns about the flood mapping and just overall flood mitigation. So I know that we in the Senate have been, my colleague Senator Mayer specifically, that co-sponsored this bill to create an office that helps with flood mitigation and looking at alternatives, not just simply withdrawing redrawing or fixing flood maps. And so, no, I definitely hear, your concern and Mike's as well. And so I will definitely see what I can find out, especially given, the ongoing challenges we're seeing due to extreme weather events and what ways we can provide supports and looking at ways in the space of prevention. So I will definitely lift this up with our folks at the DEC.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
Thank you so much, Senator Webb, for joining us today. I don't see any other questions. We definitely appreciate all the work that you do. Your gathering of individuals to have conversations about the SNAP dilemma has really been helpful to our community. And I just want to lift you up and say thank you for your hard work. You are constantly fighting for us, and we know that you're only a phone call away. So thank you for that accessibility.
No, I appreciate that, and I thank you all. Most certainly, as you are continuing to meet, and this is the time of year, as I've said to you all before, where myself and my team, we're trying to track not only what's happening with regards to SNAP and other urgent services, but again, just looking ahead to this upcoming legislative session, trying to lift up your respective concerns, priorities, but also just the opportunities that you are working on. So I know an issue area that we didn't talk about, but most certainly I am paying attention to is in the space of healthcare and just kind of where we're going to be with that. So I will definitely continue to stay in communication with all of you. And thank you for allowing your chamber to be utilized for this coordinated care press conference. I want you all to know that there are a lot of just incredible, not to say that you don't know that already, so I don't want to insinuate that you all don't know that already, but I continue to be impressed with the amount of on the ground supports that people are offering and are doing, not just here in Tompkins County, but across the district and most certainly across the state. And I just think that's a testament to just how important and how powerful community is and the work we do as electeds and helping to be conduits for that. It's important now more than ever. So again, thank you all for your partnership, and also congratulations to everyone on their elections, all that good stuff. So I will see you all later on this afternoon, and thank you for again the invitation. And please don't hesitate. In addition to the items that you shared with me today, if there are other legislative priorities, budgetarily speaking, supports, now would be the time. Just make sure you reach out to my office as we're trying to pull together legislative priorities that will most certainly help guide what I will most certainly continue to push for on your behalf in the state legislature.
Great, thank you so much.
My pleasure. All right, thanks again.
Thank you. Next, we are joined by Congressman Josh Riley. Hi, Congressman, how are you doing? I think you're on mute.
Of course I am. Hi. How's everybody doing?
We're doing great. We have Chipotle in the chambers here. We're just snacking between meetings, but we wanted to welcome you to our intergovernmental meeting, and we're very lucky to have you today. I see that you're also joined by Evan, who is our representative for the Tompkins County area. I just want to give a shout out to Evan. He has been absolutely wonderful and always very responsive, as are you. But I just want to say, how thankful we are that you're not just at our meeting today, but that you're our representative.
Well, this is so kind. Thank you, and especially in these in these very challenging times, I really appreciate that, and really appreciate all of you so much. I do have a hard stop at 12:30. What would be I want to make sure I'm addressing the issues that are top of mind for you all. I'd be happy to talk about the current situation with the shutdown, and particularly SNAP benefits as I see it. That's been one of the main things I've been hearing about. But let me just ask you all, should I start with that, or are there other more pressing things that you'd prefer me to start with?
I think that's numero uno right now.
It is pressing. Yeah.
So I'll tell you from my perspective, what's going on here is the vote that we took in the House over 6 weeks ago now, as I saw it, was a basic choice between two paths. One path would have continued us down a current run of policies that this administration is pushing that have been absolutely devastating for healthcare in rural America. The district that I represent is the 16th most rural in the whole country, and we are seeing access to healthcare barely hanging on by a thread to begin with, and then the cuts we've seen from the big ugly bill and other damaging policies out of this administration have only made things worse. And so voting 6 weeks ago for a continuing resolution would have continued us down that very destructive path. I voted instead to change the status quo, to mitigate the damage that's happening to healthcare in rural America, and to really try to force a bipartisan conversation around healthcare costs and premiums, and particularly access to healthcare in rural America. What we've seen over the last 6 weeks has been, I would say, if I said it was incredibly frustrating, I'd be understating it. I've told folks who have asked me, including in the press, I think if you just went out on the street in upstate New York and found 15, 20, 30 people and put them in a room, they could probably solve this problem pretty quickly. But the partisan politics in Washington have precluded, for whatever reason, the Republicans who control the House, control the Senate, control the White House, control the Supreme Court, from having a bipartisan conversation with us about access to health care. So people ask me, when is this government shutdown going to end? And my answer is, as soon as Democrats and Republicans will sit down with each other and talk about how to lower the cost of health care and improve access to health care in rural America, it should end pretty quickly, I would think, after that. Why it's taken this long to have those conversations is beyond me. One of the biggest consequences of this, as we've all seen over the last few days here, is the discontinuation of SNAP benefits. So I think everybody's probably familiar with the general background on this, but just in case, SNAP benefit funding ended on November 1st. 2 days before that, I joined, I led the effort for the New York delegation with my colleague Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others to push the Trump administration to tap into a $5 billion contingency fund to at least provide some SNAP benefits during the month of November. The budget for SNAP benefits nationally is about $9 billion. This $5 billion should be enough to cover either half the benefits for the full month or full benefits for the half month. That argument and those issues ended up in a federal court last Friday. The court very quickly ruled that the arguments that we had been making were correct, which is that the administration is obligated to tap into that contingency fund. On Monday, the administration entered a compliance plan, a compliance statement, which said that it will, in fact, make the funds available and make issuance tables available immediately. After that, as he tends to do, the president just fired off a bunch of stuff on social media that caused a lot of confusion in terms of whether the administration was going to comply with that order. I have since been briefed and received information to indicate that the administration is now saying that it will comply with that order. And so what that means for all of us, as far as I can tell, is that the federal funding should be available soon. However, there's potentially delays between that funding becoming available and it being placed on folks' EBT cards because of the transactions that have to happen between the federal government, the state government, and others. And so all of that is to say we've made a lot of progress, I think, on this issue over the last couple of days, but there's still a lot that needs to be done. And of course, at the end of the day, getting half of the benefits that folks are entitled to isn't a satisfactory answer overall. So that's where that stands. I'd be happy to take any questions on that or anything else that folks have. And the one thing I would say is stay in really close touch with my office, with Evan, who's on the line here, or Lauren, who's my ag advisor in DC. We're tracking this SNAP issue. Really, it's on an hour-by-hour basis now in terms of what's happening between the courts and the administration and the state.
Thank you very much. I'm sure that you know this, but Tompkins County was actually at the highest percentage of increase for insurance if the ACA does not continue. So I'm sure that you saw that. But many of our individuals are facing, I believe it was a 200% increase for their health insurance, which is absolutely unsustainable.
Yeah, it is, and that's the main reason, one of the main reasons. I mean, between the increases we're seeing across upstate New York, Medicare Advantage plans abandoning rural communities because of they're looking out more for their profits than our neighbors. And, you know, I don't think this is a political statement. I think it is a false choice in this country, given how the strength of this country. It is a false choice to say that we need to choose between either making sure folks have access to affordable, good health care in this country or able to have the food that they need on the table. There's absolutely no reason in my mind that we can't do both. And we're in this situation because the folks who control everything in Washington decided in July that it was more important for them to give trillions of dollars in tax breaks to a bunch of people on Wall Street who don't need it than to make sure that kids who are hungry have food on their tables. Yeah. Teachers in the public schools can keep the lights on when the utility bills are going through the roof. And the generation above us and below us can get access to the healthcare services they need. And so the priorities in this budget are so out of whack, which is why I voted against it.
Thank you. We do have some questions for you. Deborah Dawson?
Yeah, hi, Congressman. How are you doing? Thanks for being with us.
Hey, Deborah, good to see you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, it's a little premature. I guess they have to canvass all the write-ins, but it looks like it's going to work, so thank you. I mean, I think the problem with the health insurance premiums and healthcare generally is broader than just misplaced priorities in Congress. I'm very lucky because I'm a retired federal employee, but and I'm on Medicare, but my FEHB health insurance premiums, if I stay with the program I've had, I promise to go up $200 a month next year. And the Medicare Part B is going up from about $20, $22 a month for each of myself and my husband. So I would really urge Congress to take a look at why health costs are so freaking high. I mean, because, yeah, at some point, talk about sustainability. At some point, if the cost of healthcare and health insurance keeps going up this way, everybody's going to be making choices between food and housing and healthcare. So it's a bigger problem, I think, than just the congressional priorities as reflected in the big, beautiful bill. Or the big ugly bill.
I don't disagree with that. We have massive issues with cost containment, and incentives in the healthcare industry are completely are not always aligned with what's best for patients and the overall economy. I mean, one of the things that was enacted a decade ago was the medical loss ratio, to make sure that more of the money you're paying in premiums is going toward your actual care, instead of, nonsense like advertising and lobbying and corporate PAC contributions and stuff like that. I think it's time to revisit that and tighten that up even more. I mean, there's a whole host of things we should be doing on cost containment. One of the biggest is this is a vicious cycle, right? If you're taking access to healthcare away from rural communities, that's penny wise and pound foolish, because you might save $1 today by making those cuts, but those kids are going to have worse health outcomes later, and it's going to cost the whole system more. So, yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Thank you.
Congressman, I want to be respectful of your time. You mentioned that you're able to stay till 12:30. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually have a meeting I'm taking hopefully to work on some investments in access to broadband and internet service in our rural communities, which I also see as a huge component of public health. So I'm going to have to jump to that, but I would love to be able to rejoin you when I have a little bit more time. And Sean, I appreciate you reaching out, and just shoot me a text and let me know when I can join again, because I know there's a lot going on and would love to continue the conversation.
Great. Thank you again. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, everybody. Keep up all the good work. I appreciate you.
You too. Thank you,
Congressman.
Great. Okay. Next, sorry to Cornell that we had a small break there. Clearly more people that are more important than all of us on this phone call. So we wanted to make time for them. Let's see here. Why don't we hop over to Kyle? Welcome, Kyle. It's the first time I've met you, and I just want to welcome you to our meeting today.
Thank you, very much. I've been here for about 2 months, and it's a big transition, not only between institutions, but from Brooklyn to Ithaca. And I'm commuting right now between the two, but will become a permanent resident here in June. I currently live in the building with the Rook that has the Rook restaurant, Library Place. So I'm usually there at the bar on having a burger on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So if anyone wants to hang out, I'm here by myself, always happy to have dinner there with someone. So it's a.
We were looking for your green glasses. That's the only way we can identify.
Oh yeah, sorry. Those.
The Rook's about to get very busy on Tuesday and Wednesday.
So. What's that?
We have legislature meetings on Tuesday night. You're welcome to come to one of those if you get bored.
Okay, thanks. It's a tough call between a good burger and a legislative meeting, but one of the days I'll do it. So there's an interesting time for Cornell and for higher ed in general. I'm sure, as Paul has sort of indicated, in that we have a number of different sort of big meta issues that are facing higher ed, that were facing higher ed before January. And I think the issues that higher ed faces since January are really exacerbating some of the larger issues that all higher ed face, and certainly Cornell among them. I would say our primary focus right now is financial stability, much like Paula said as well. At a really high level, and I've said this to some of you that I've met before, that our basic problem is we have an operating margin problem. We're spending more, I don't know the exact number, but it's roughly, if we take in $1, we're probably spending $1.08 to operate the university. And we are going through an effort now. We have two different distinct efforts going on. One is we went into an austerity budget that was submitted for this current fiscal year. So everyone had a current fiscal budget, and we said you need to redo the budget and cut it by a certain amount for this fiscal year. A lot of the ways with different organizations met the fiscal austerity budget that was just finished were either eliminating open positions or doing different things more efficiently, maybe not doing some things, and doing some headcount reductions. So you will see we have had some headcount reductions this year. We're now in a phase of what we are calling Resilient Cornell that is really focused on the idea of really bringing down that $1.08. And again, I'm making that number up. Please don't quote me on that, the number there. Bringing that, let's assume that it's $1.08, bringing that down so that we are, for every dollar we bring in revenue, that we're spending, 95, which creates a bit of a margin for us to handle a lot of the things that are coming at us. Not only things that have come at us already, but potential things that could come at us in the future. So in the category of things that have come at us already, we have lost about $250 million or have been interrupted on $250 million in grants coming from the federal government. Some of that's never going to come back. So anything that we did, I think around 80 million or so of USAID, USAID programs from an agency that has been completely eliminated at this point, those are not going to come back. We have a number of, not likely to come back. Number of grants with the National Institutes for Health, National Science Foundation, and a number of different agencies that are, USDA is another big one, that are interrupted. Now, some of those means that we've actually been told to stop working, and then we've had to either agree to stop working or cover this interim period on our own, or we have stopped work and we're still covering the costs of the faculty who are looking for other grants to fill the gap. In some cases, we are doing work on grants that have not been stopped. We're just not getting paid. So essentially, you can go into the system and say, hey, I've spent a certain amount of money on the project this month, and those things are not getting paid. So it's a number of different ways that we are being affected by the current overall issues around federal grants. Some are just gone, some we're covering, and some we're working and just not getting paid. That all adds up to about $250 million. So we have been bridging some of that. So this next initiative is to hopefully we will find some resolution with the federal government on the grants that are eligible to come back. And those conversations are continuing. But in the meantime, we had a problem before all of this in that we were spending too much money. And so they are related, but really what's happening at the federal level is exacerbating problems that already existed. So through this Resilient Cornell initiative, we are taking a look at how to do things more efficiently, looking at areas where we have duplication and seeing if there are ways we can do things with less duplication or zero duplication, spending less money on consultants, those kinds of things to really rein in the overall costs of doing what we do. And so that's really what's focused. And I would say the crescendo of that will probably be, I would say, January or February. Again, we're looking to do things more efficiently, but I think it's relatively clear, and like we've relatively made it clear that there will be potentially some additional headcount reductions from that. But again, we're trying to do it in a way that minimizes that, but also improves our efficiency. So that's the not great news coming from us. Some other interesting things that are happening around campus is that so for those of you who don't know, Mike is the president. Mike Kotlikoff is the president. He was previously the provost. Prior to that, he ran the veterinary school. In January, he was asked to be an interim, and then he was then named as the new president and was inaugurated as the new president just a couple of weeks ago in conjunction with the Board of Trustees meeting. It was a very low-key affair, again, to sort of demonstrate the need for austerity. But nonetheless, it is good news that we have Mike has been officially installed as our president. And we've had a couple of ribbon cuttings around that. In the meantime, we have a new building at the Bauer School of Computer Science. And we also have a couple of new institutes that are donor funded that opened up this week. So despite what's going on in terms around being more resilient and really cutting our overall costs, we are making progress, continuing to do research, continue to be focused on our academic and research mission. And the last thing I'll say in terms of forthcoming headwinds that we're concerned about, in addition to any other problems that happen with the federal government, we are concerned about foreign students. And if you think about the current class of foreign students that any institution has, those were all people who applied to their institution. And this is not a unique thing to Cornell. This is something that's facing higher education. Any foreign student who came this year is someone who applied to their institution before January and before a lot of things we've seen since the beginning of the Trump administration. So to the extent that foreign students become concerned around social media vetting, general hospitability of the United States, and their ability to come here, get an education, and maybe even work here after they get their education, those are all things that for some could be very intimidating. And so we are concerned that the international applications will be significantly down, which for any higher education institution, it's a critical part of having them in the community, getting the research, and making ends meet on the finances. So that is something we're very concerned about for this next coming year, which is, again, why we're thinking about how can we be more resilient in the face of some pretty significant headwinds coming our way. But thank you all for having me, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you that I haven't met yet, and I will come to a meeting when Jennifer can bring me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. I think we do have a few questions for you.
Sure.
Or maybe it's just me.
Other than your real ray of sunshine, Kyle, thank you.
I wanted to know, I know that there are some universities that have decided not to negotiate with this administration. And while we're talking about international students, I think for those universities, there is a comfort for people that are applying to those universities. They know to some extent politically where they might stand. Is Cornell concerned about the students that you might not be catching due to your negotiating with this administration, as far as kids choosing Cornell as their institution of choice?
I don't know of any institution that's not negotiate. I mean, that's had significant funds stopped, that's not negotiating. I mean, Harvard has a different situation in that they have a freedom of speech case that they're prosecuting because they received a letter that said exactly why they were not getting money. That led to a very compelling freedom of speech case that they won. There's the compact that was given out by the administration that pretty much everyone said no to. For those of you who don't know, this was a set of terms that were given to it was open at first to a group of 9, but then eventually to the entire higher education community, that if you agreed to certain things, that you would get preferential treatment in future research grants. For the most part, the community has rejected that. I'm actually not aware of anyone who's actually signed it, including ourselves. Mike has been public about his rejection of that. But otherwise, you know, it's to answer your specific question, we're all trying to figure out how to navigate our way through this time and keep, you know, the partnership between the federal government and universities in terms of doing research. We're all trying to find our individual ways to keep that alive because the partnership is so important to the United States, to the university, and in some ways, you know, to the world in terms of the new knowledge that comes out of those. We've fought very hard with the administration on the current change in visa status for H-1Bs. I think we are part of or adjacent to a research lawsuit around that. We've worked very hard to advocate for people who are trying to get visas. So I don't necessarily know of any institution that is not negotiating. There might be one. I also don't necessarily know of people making, I can totally see why they would, but making philosophical decisions that they may not want to go to an institution because of the perceived relationship. But you know, if you think of Brown, Princeton, Harvard, you know, everyone, we all have to find a way through this if we've had, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars canceled. And to the extent that we can find ways to understand the issues the federal government is concerned about, but also at the same time stand up for academic independence and not having them control our institutions or make decisions on who we hire, who we educate, and what's educated. That's probably the most important thing. And so I'll end it there.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments for Kyle? Mike Sigler?
My question's pretty quick. I mean, I recognize that a lot of money was cut from the federal government and stuff, but I would like to give Cornell, at least the alumni, some credit. I mean, it was my understanding you raised quite a bit of money from alumni and the Cornell community, something along the lines of $800 million or close to $1 billion. Is that correct?
We have, I mean, yes, we have, it has been a great response from alumni to help us cover some of those costs. And so, yes, that is true. And I appreciate the shout out.
Thanks.
Okay, well, I don't see any other questions, and I believe you are our last guest for this evening or for this afternoon. Again, I just want to thank everyone for attending today, and thank you for all the work you do in our community, and stay posted for probably a January meeting. Have a great day. Thank you all.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Take care.